This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. And what I'm looking at today is the first season of American Horror Stories, which is an anthology series that is on FX and rebroadcast on Hulu. And to be totally honest, I didn't expect to like American Horror Stories because it comes from the same people, in particular Brad Falchuk and Ryan Murphy, who produce American Horror Story, which oftentimes is a very tawdry, a very seedy feeling series. I first became acquainted with it with the first season in 2011, and that was called Murder House. And while it has a very interesting premise, namely you have a house where everyone who dies of violence remains, which is to say you have all these ghosts over decades who are in this house creating havoc whenever the opportunity presents itself. That's an interesting concept. But as I said, Falchuk and Murphy have this seediness to the things they tend to do. And it was so evident with American Horror Story Season 1 that it turned me off on future seasons. So, going into American Horror Stories, I expected more of the same. Well, I should say going to the first season of American Horror Stories. I expected more of the same. And to be honest, that's what I got. And what I didn't get. Let me explain. The first season of American Horror Stories is 7 episodes long. 3 of those episodes revolve around the murder house from the Murder House season of American Horror Stories. As usual, it was very tawdry, it was very seedy feeling. Never mind the fact that it's just, as it's treated by the people in the story, it lacks any real sense of horror. Horrible things happen to various people, but it's not very atmospheric in the way it goes about it. And the people seem very petty and small. And the episodes that revolve around Murder House in American Horror Stories are Episode 1, Rubber Woman, Part 1, Episode 2, Rubber Woman, Part 2, and Episode 7, It's Over. Now, that leaves 4 more episodes of the first season, and they're all pretty good because, for a start, they don't revolve around Murder House. And also, they are dealing with different types of things. Everything ends in a typically horrible fashion, but horror in a sense that it works within the genre, not cheap or tawdriness. And that is really good. The 3rd episode of the first season of American Horror Story is called Drive-In. And it's actually very reminiscent of the Masters of Horror episode Cigarette Burns, directed by John Carpenter, which revolves around a film that causes people to kill. The whole premise is frankly ludicrous, but what horror movie frankly isn't ludicrous? It's the execution, it's the atmosphere that make it work. And for the most part, Drive-In works particularly well. It's not great, and as I said, it's nothing you haven't seen before, but it is executed pretty confidently, and it has its moments. Episode 4 is called The Naughty List, revolving around a killer Santa, which once again is not something you haven't seen before. Silent Night, Deadly Night, there are at least 4 or 5 other movies revolving around Santas who kill. Though it's not bad. As I said, it's well acted. The blatantly homoerotic stuff isn't done to such a degree that it becomes real icky or tawdry. So it works. It's not bad. Once again, the episodes that work aren't great by any stretch of imagination. We're not talking Twilight Zone episodes, but they're also not bad and are quite watchable. Speaking of which, the 5th episode is called Baal, and it's pretty good, revolving around a woman who believes that she's going crazy, or is she? You probably know the answer to that question already based upon how I said it, but it's not a bad episode. It works. It does the job. In fact, if American Horror Story Season 1 has a motto, it would be, it does the job. It doesn't overwork itself, it doesn't underwork itself. And I mean the episodes that work, which are the 4 I'm naming now. It does what it needs to do and nothing more. And that's okay. Not everything can be the Twilight Zone or the Outer Limits. And the 6th story is called Feral, which revolves around a family who are vacationing or camping in the woods, if I recall. And the child vanishes. They don't give up though, and they eventually come back to search for the child and find him, much to their dismay. Not a bad episode, pretty interesting. This for me is a victory of sorts as far as American Horror Stories goes, because of the 7 episodes, 4 are pretty good. 3 are just irritating. And keep in mind, the stories revolving around the murder house season of American Horror Story aren't bad. It's just that there's a tawdriness to them. There is a talkiness to them. They feel like to me as if the writer thinks they're a lot more clever than they actually are. I wish they ended, and if the episode Game Over, which I called It's Over earlier, is any indicator, we've seen the last of the murder house. So all in all, the first season of American Horror Stories is pretty good. It's not bad, it's not great, but pretty good and pretty watchable. So what do you think? This is Brian with ScreenFiles.com in review. Do you agree, disagree? Let me know down below. And as usual, consider a like or a follow.